Hello po, can you guys hear me?
Yes po.
Okay, nice, thanks. Di minsan gumagana mic ko, so I just want to test before so for this concern.
Education matters as much as it matters to you. We know that as students, we make sure that they're one step closer to their dreams. With Course Hero, you can be a part of a growing community of passionate educators who are willing to help students learn. Our online learning platform gives you the opportunity to provide explanations to student questions and to share study resources for specific courses. Think of it this way: when you explain, you gain. What are you waiting for? Be a tutor now.
Hi, I'm Greg,
Hello, I'm Jean.
Hi, I'm Justin
and this is an example of
The day in my life as a software engineer.
at Expodoc.
Wake up.
I'm getting ready for my stand-up meeting now.
Morning stand up.
All right, let's do some work. Go team. Yeah.
Work.
It's currently 9:30 a.m. I'm checking my calendar right now for my meetings, going through my emails, checking my Slack, also having some breakfast.
Figure out how the heck to do my task.
I'm done with all my morning meetings, so now I'm gonna go back to fixing my draft PR. We'll be up soon.
Team building.
It's 12:30 in the afternoon, so I'm gonna head out for lunch.
Super mega ultra power coding. Have lunch and pet dog.
So I just finished lunch and I got my caffeine for the day.
Stir. 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 Bugs. Back to work.
Oh my god, it works.
Great. Success.
So it's almost 5 and I'm getting ready for my stand-up of the day. And after this meeting, I'll probably wrap up and be done for the day.
Play some TFTLMAO.
Exciting siya kasi nung una ko nakita yung team members nung project na pupuntahan ko, puro sila certified Java developers. As a junior developer, sobrang exciting siya kasi alam ko marami akong matututunang new knowledge from them, especially from their experience. Mapo-force ka talagang aralin technology or tools na kailangan mong gamitin to keep up with the team. Part of your job is to learn and maximize learning opportunities na pwede ibigay sa'yo ng company. Isa pa is kapag bago ka sa UN, ang dami ng training. So, exciting yun kasi halos lahat ng developers pangarap na magkaroon sila ng training, especially sa Java. Isa pa, tiring kasi first week tapos yung client namin is sobrang challenging. From banking industry kasi siya. So, large corporation. So, matagal yung process. Relatively, ang OND is composed of yappies. Madalas yung hang out together, quiz nights, yun. Masaya siya. Currently, I'm working as a lead developer sa isang project. Ang ginagawa ko is to make sure na my requirements are doable at pasok sa deadline. Mostly server management, meeting with clients, since as a lead dev, expected na may pag-interact ka sa client to explain the technical side of things kasi mostly business people naman yung kausap na. This is my first time to lead a team. So I have to adjust sa mga skills or sa mga responsibility na binigay sa akin. From being a typical developer na nagko-code ka lang, so bibigyan ka ng task. This time kasi you have to manage the developers and making sure na nagagawa nila yung mga tasks on time. Experience. ONB, bukod sa maraming training, binibigyan nila ng importance yung growth ng developer. Binibigyan ng ONB yung mga kailangan mong skills. Pero hindi kasi tatapos yung learning experience mo sa actual work, na-apply mo siya. So, mas hands-on ka kasi sa project. ONB kasi parang sobrang mapili when it comes to recruitment. So, alam mo na yung maging are capable. Sobrang highly talented ng mga tao. So, alam mo na yung mga kasama may maaambag sa team. Meron silang iba-ibang bonuses. Pag mid-dev ka, parang ng excitement, especially sa sa junior ka pa. Alam mo na marami kang perks na makukuha sa dev. So, pupursili kang ma-promote. Siguro ito, yung taking lead dev. Kasi totally new experience siya for me. Starting
All right, so we're back. Hello, everyone. Are you guys good? Yeah, I hope everyone's.
Competition.
Are you guys okay? Are you guys still alive? How was it? We'll find out in a bit. Hope you.
We're already
you guys have
seeing a
anything
lot
to
of
share.
reactions.
A lot of comments. Intense daw. Sabi ni Hans.
Lots of screaming.
Brain damage. Oh no. Well, I hope that everyone is feeling well after that final round. Whether that is relief or whatever that is, I just hope you guys are okay.
Catharsis?
maybe a bit of that too. So yeah.
Yes, I agree. Super deserved ng treat. Absolutely. You guys, all of you did well.
Definitely. So Jerry, how you want to ask about the competition maybe? So
all right. So at this point in time, get your feelings out in the chat. We've got a lot of feelings, a lot of screaming. But at this point, I'm sure that people are wondering, how the heck are those problems solved? You're probably itching to know the intended or actual solution.
Definitely. And I've seen some of the problems, and I know that I'm waiting to see the answers and how one would actually solve such problems, so I'm excited to see the
solutions. We are ready to be enriched, and let's learn about the people who will be doing the enriching. Let's introduce our judges who will help us learn about the concepts behind those problems and find the solutions.
So our first judge graduated with a degree in computer science at UP Diliman and has also finished his master's in computing, major in computer science at the National University of Singapore. In 2019, he worked as a software engineer at Canva, and now he is the chief executive officer at Mechaform and also its founder. Everyone, please give a warm virtual round of applause for Peyton Yao.
Woo! All right, our second judge graduated as summa cum laude in BS Math at Ateneo de Manila University. He has tutored in competitive programming and mathematics, and he's also a coach or org moderator of the Ateneo Senior High School Progvar since 2020. Aside from that, he has been a problem setter and tester of the National Olympiad in Informatics, Philippines, or NOI.PH, since 2019 and is currently its co-head judge. He's also part of the Philippine Mathematical Olympiad, or PMO, Test Development Committee since 2021. Currently, he is a software developer at Mechaform. Everyone, please welcome Jared Francis Ortega.
Welcome. All right, so for our final judge, our final judge graduated as cum laude in BS Computer Engineering at UP Diliman and is currently taking his PhD in electrical engineering at the same university. He was also the former head and coach of the UP Programming Guild, and he was also an ICPC World Finalist in 2017. Currently, he is an associate engineer at Samsung R&D Institute Philippines, and he is the head of the algorithm problem development team there. Everyone, please welcome Rene Josiah Quinto.
Yay! Welcome, judges. We will now be
Welcome.
giving the floor to you so that you'll be able to discuss the problems and their solutions.
All right. I guess I'm going to be the one to take over for the presentation of solution sketches. So, musta guys? Before we start, why don't you comment in the chat what was your favorite problem of the set? You know, I wrote 3 problems in this set, and they were A, B, and F. Guy, no one likes my problems. Come on, guys. Anyway, okay, so sige. Enjoy naman ba? Like overall, would you say? As I share my screen. Not China level hard, but still hard. If it was China level hard, then no one would be having fun right now. So, okay, sige. I'm just gonna try to breeze through this. There are not, these aren't going to be full solutions. They're just going to be solution sketches because we have to respect time. Yeah, it's the default LaTeX Beamer template. Anyway, if you have more questions or if you want more detail about the solutions, you can just ask in the Discord. We'll be happy to answer. Again, let's try to go through these in order of general difficulty. So first, problem D, dimensional elevator. I think almost all teams got this naman. The answer is basically one line. Take the max of P minus 1 plus N minus the number of times that 1 appears. Tapos sabi sa problem statement na times 3, 3 seconds per operation. So okay, sige, times 3. So what's with this magic expression? We can break it down. So this is a technique where you try to find necessary and sufficient conditions to prove that what you're doing is like optimal. Na yan yung best talaga. For instance, we need to bring the elevator up to the highest piece of I floor, right? We have to do that because we have to service everyone. But as we're bringing the elevator all the way up there, we can service everyone else by dropping them off along the way. So we need to go all the way up there, but that's already sufficient. And in addition, everyone needs to dismount the elevator eventually, except for the people who need to be at floor 1 because they never board the elevator in the first place. So everyone takes 3 seconds. So 3 seconds per each of the N people minus the people na first floor lang. So if you have something like this, O of N per test case. Yes, I'll be sharing these slides. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if this is clear na so that I can move on? Okay, good. Next, coin sort. Let's start with the intuitive idea before we start getting all formal. Like, what's the intuitive idea for coin sort? Diba? You find an inside, quote-unquote, inside subsegment of same type coins. So like itong 10, 10, 10, it's inside a 5 and a 5. Preferably ones that are the same type as ones of the coins, as one of the endpoint coins. Then you extract it and then attach it to that endpoint. So for example here, ano yung pwede mong gawin? Take this 10, these 10s, plural, extract it, tapos append it here. And then take this 5 that's inside, extract it, and then append it here. Right? So you could just directly simulate that kind of thing. And then if you simulate it if you simulate it efficiently enough, then it will pass. That's the intuitive idea. Now, is it correct or optimal? Yes, now we can prove it. Count the number of quote-unquote contact points, I in this as I, such that like different types of coins. It's like here, it goes from 5 to 10, that's one contact point, 10 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 5, 5 to 10. So those are the contact points. Count the number of contact points that we have. So the algorithm described in the previous slide will always decrease the number of contact points by 2. Diba? Kasi yung 5, 10, 5, that 10 is inside, so it's 2 contact points. If I pull it out, the 5 and the 5 glue together, okay yan. And if I attach the 10 to another 10 at the end, that's no more contact points then. So in those cases, contact points is -2. The only exception is if you already have like parang 3 runs like this lang, in which case the contact points decreases by 1 lang. But it's okay because in a sorted stack, there should only be 1 contact point. So if you look at this in terms of contact points, we don't even need to simulate it anymore. All we have to do is count the number of contact points and then divide it by 2 rounded down. Because, rounded down ba? Yes, rounded down. Because we can always do -2, -2, -2, -2 until we reach 1. So just counting the number of contact points, that's even more straightforward because it's just this. And the complexity is O of n per test case. Can you guys type 2 in the chat if that's clear? Okay, nice, good. We're still following so far. Next, vintage NFTs. This is really straightforward. Like, isang slide lang. Kasi all it is, like, the description for the solution is just, you note that n is really small. Like, I think it's 3 or 4 only. So just brute force all possible vintage NFTs. Brute force all of them, manually compute yung C sequence nila, and then count the number of them whose C matches like the target C na gusto natin. And you can easily iterate over all possible NFTs using bit masking. Right? Bit masking is the one where you treat integers as bit strings of 0 and 1. So you can imagine if n is 4, n squared is 16. So I take the integers from 0 to 2 to the 16 minus 1. Each of them, pag converted to binary, that's a bit string of like 16 zeros and ones. Tapos yung zeros and ones na yun, I can use that to encode like if this cell is on or if this cell is off, blah, blah, blah. So it's really just brute force. Realize that n is small enough to brute force and then just go for it. So itong n squared times 2 to the n squared per test case is very spooky, but n is just 4, so that's okay. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if that's clear? All right, next. Yummy tea. So let's start applying some problem-solving techniques. Let's simplify the problem kasi medyo headache to consider like my 5 different ingredients, I think. Okay, so let's consider only one type of ingredient. Well, if there's only one type of ingredient, then how do we solve that? Then just for each free real estate on the grid, find the minimum distance to any of the, let's say, m square, kasi one ingredient lang. Now, this step, find the minimum distance to any m square for each free real estate on the grid. There are a number of different ways you could approach this. One is by doing what we call a multi-source BFS. So if you know BFS, breadth first search, imagine you can do that because breadth first search gives the shortest paths from the source to each of the other nodes in the graph. But instead of having one single source, lahat ng m squares will be our source. And BFS will still give us the shortest path to any of those m's. Another way, if you don't want to think about it in terms of BFS, is because it's Manhattan distance, you can consider the x and the y separately. And kung one-dimensional lang yung grid, then I think it's more easy to reason about how to find like the shortest distance to any m square kung in a row lang siya. But Manhattan distance is just like yung x plus yung y. So handle those two independently, and you'll be able to find that minimum distance for each square for one ingredient. But if you can answer this for one ingredient, there's only 5 naman. And for any subset of those 5, just consider all possible subsets. Like if I'm at some square, I'll compute the distance from M and from B and from PA and from S to that square. And then once I have all of those answers, I just do all possible subsets of M, B, P, S, whatever. So actually, pampagulo lang siya ng konti. But really, the fact that there are multiple ingredients didn't end up mattering too much. So we pre-compute the answer for all possible subsets in 2 to the x times n squared. Because n squared is the size of the grid. And for each of them, we're going to do an all subset sort of thing. And then once it's pre-computed, O of 1 per query na lang. Can you guys type 2 in the chat if you're good with that? Okay, good. Marami namang 2. Okay. So what's next? H. Specific gravity. Okay, so another problem-solving technique, one that's common in math and stuff, is we're going to find a necessary condition. I think you've heard the words, baka flashback ng konti, the words necessary and sufficient. Necessary conditions are things that have to be true, but they don't necessarily they won't be a complete solution by themselves. But what we can usually find to be a helpful technique is find a necessary condition, right? Something that's very clearly, oh, this has to be true, otherwise it would be impossible. Actually, if you think about it, hindi lang siya necessary. It's actually already sufficient. Like this will already solve the problem. So, okay, I'm talking abstractly. Let's give a concrete example. What's a necessary condition? If all of the rocks have density less than D, or if all the rocks have density greater than D, then it's impossible. And I think you can intuitively tell why. It's because the average, what we're doing is basically averaging. You can do the algebra formally, but intuitively, we're just kind of averaging out the densities somehow. And averaging pulls things towards the middle. If everyone is less than the target, or if everyone's greater than the target, then I can't pull it towards B. So it's impossible. So, okay, this is necessary. It has to be true. But actually, you can show that it is sufficient. And I'll share these slides, but it basically comes down to this algebraic manipulation lang. It's purely symbolic yung proof. Assume that we have 2 rocks, A and B, any 2 rocks, such that one has density greater than or equal to D, the other has density less than or equal to D. And then suppose we'll use Ka of type A and Kb of type B. So, okay, just do the math. Na ito yung weighted average mo. And then we'll distribute, we reorganize. And when we have it in this form, actually there's a kind of meme solution to this. Kasi this is something times something equals something times something. Sana yung pwedeng solution? We'll make K sub A equal to itong dVB minus WB, because that's the thing here. And then for the opposite side, we'll make KB equals WA minus DVA, because that's the thing here. So you just need to set these to be equal to each other. Tapos makukuha mo is KA times KB equals KB times KA. And by our assumption of A and B, these values of Ka and Kb are non-negative. They're non-negative integers, so it's valid to say take that many stones. We know they're non-negative because of this condition. Just do some algebra and rearrange it. So the condition is actually sufficient. So actually, in summary, I should have said, in summary, what you have to do is check that we have at least one rock whose density is greater than or equal to D, and at least one rock whose density is less than or equal to D. You just need to check that this magic condition holds. And if it does, then it will be possible. And if it's not, then it's not possible. So O of n per test case, kasi just scan, check one by one yung mga elements. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if that makes sense to you? Yeah, I'm kind of blitzing through these. So if it feels like I'm going too fast, just comment. If you want me to say something in more detail or explain something more clearly, then sabihin niyo lang din. Sure, now let's carry on. Okay, problem G, the Song of Blue Blue. I'm actually super, super happy about this problem kasi relatively ang daming teams na nakakuha ng problem G. So it makes me happy. The Philippines is getting stronger. So paano siya? Well, okay, spoiler, it's DP. Before we get to the DP formulation, well, this is going to be helpful. So like I invented this the other way around, but for sake of presentation, let's consider this function muna. Suppose you have a phrase, tapos yung last letter of the last word is E prime. I want this phrase to end on E, and I want it to end on E by appending a word to it. So like I have some number of words, ends on E prime. I'm going to attach another word to the end, and then make it end in the letter E. So if I do that, what's the max extra power that you can get by appending one word? And we'll call that function best E prime of E. And ito, straightforward lang siya. Consider all of the words like that are in our alphabet. And because we want the whole phrase to end on E, we should only consider the words that end on E. Of those words that end on E, just try all of them one by one. And the power added will be the distance from E prime to the first letter of the word. So just try all of the words one by one, get the maximum such distance. That would be like this best of E prime E function. Now, okay, here's the DP. Let DP KSE be the maximum power that can be achieved with K words, and where the first letter of the first word is S, and the last letter of the last word is E. And ito na yung motivation for this best function that I pulled out of nowhere. So DP of KSE, so what we're going to do is typical in DP. We're going to chop it up into a smaller recursive subproblem. We have K words in a row. Okay, we have K words in a row. Let's consider the first K minus 1 words and then the last Kth word. So the first K minus 1 words, ano yung last letter niya? We don't know, but like, just consider all of them. So, of all the possible E prime na ending letter ng first K minus 1 words, consider all of that. Tapos, we need to append one word to it to make it end on E, kasi DPKSE nga. So what's that one word that we should append? Well, we don't need the exact word. We just need the best value. And we got that with our best function. So basically, the whole point of this best function was just motivated by yan yung nasa DP transition. Now we're chopping it up into the first K minus 1 words and the last Kth word. Tapos what's the best way to transition from the K minus 1 to the K? Can you guys type 2 in the chat if you followed along so far with the DP? For those people who don't yet, okay lang yan kasi this is, at least the discussion up until this point is classic technique called dynamic programming. If you want to compete in competitive programming, you have to learn it kasi it's super essential. But I emphasize, you have to learn it nga. It's not trivial. So if you haven't learned it yet, don't worry about not getting this. Aralin mo lang, magkuha mo to. And then I guess just a question for you guys to consider. What should the contents of DP1SE be? Kasi ito yung base case. Now, if you do enough DP, you're going to notice something that's like this big signal. It's kind of like telegraphing what our next insight should be. We have this recurrence relation, but the recurrence relation only depends on like the previous value of K. It is DPK, it only depends on the value of DPK minus 1. And it actually has, in addition to that, a specific form. So this is a signal that, I'm pulling a trick out of nowhere. You can use fast matrix exponentiation, or in general, divide and conquer to speed up the solution. Maybe you guys want to think about it on your own. Like, basically you're, oh wait, sige, let me move to the next slide. You can reduce the problem to evaluating the matrix product A to the m minus 1 times B. Where did the matrices come from, huh? Well, you can do this without matrices, but I thought that it would be very cool to introduce a new concept to you guys. Na, okay, ano yung matrices ulit? Matrices have addition and multiplication. And the matrix multiplication is meron kang dalawang row, may row and column vector. So you take the dot product, and the dot product is you times the corresponding pairs, and then you add them up. So to do matrix multiplication, you need the plus and you need the times. But mathematicians found out that there's nothing too special about plus and times. There are other structures that behave the same as plus and times, at least in the context that we care about. And in this case, it's max and plus. You can verify for yourself that, for instance, max is associative, plus is also associative. Ano pa? Distributive property of multiplication over addition. You can check that plus actually distributes over max. This is kind of abstract, so maybe you won't get it so far, but ito na lang something concrete to focus on. If you know matrix multiplication, replace this max with plus, and replace this plus with times. Tapos we have this common E prime that's binding them together. Di ba mukhang matrix multiplication yon? Yung dot product whatever. Sum of something times something na may common E prime to bind them together. So anyway, you can think about it in terms of matrix multiplication in, yung sabi nga ni Kirk, the max plus algebra. Or you can just ad hoc some other divide and conquer solution. But basta the answer is going to be basically a cubed, where a is the size of our alphabet, 26 lang naman, times log of m to do that binary exponentiation. Okay, so can you guys type 1 in the chat if you at least sort of follow along? Sort of. 0.5, that's fine. Okay, I'm kind of... How about company technical interviews? Is DP necessary to learn? DP is a very common technique, not just in competitive programming, but like in data structures and algorithms in general. And those company interviews kind of love doing standard problems. So I would reasonably expect DP to show up. Like I wouldn't come into it expecting to be DP, but if I saw DP, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Anyway, warning lang guys ha, like maybe before the problems gets niyo lang lahat with like a casual breeze through, we're kind of jumping off the deep end na. Ito na yung hard part of ito na yung hard part of the set. So just kind of enjoy the magic. Let's proceed. Yeah, kala ko greedy lang yung problem. That's the thing, right? It's like DP versus greedy. It's like this age-old battle. Okay, problem E, mysterious symbols. We can actually describe this a bit quickly kasi medyo standard din. So if you know the standard technique, it'll be fast to explain. If you don't, then just look up what strongly connected components are and then revisit the slides. We'll be uploading it naman. So here's how I thought about it when this problem was presented to me. So what you do is, we have this graph. Sorry, not graph. We're jumping the gun. We have this grid. Tapos, we can go from some squares to others. Diba may rule that's like, may rule na kailangan from A to B or basta from some letter to the next letter in cyclic order. So there's this counterintuitive tactic in computer science where to solve a hard problem, you make it more general. You widen the scope of the problem. And it's like, what? This problem was already hard. Now you're going to consider a more general version of the problem. Well, actually, yeah, that can be helpful because general means we have a repository of standard techniques to attack it. So if I have this saying na I can go from this square to this square only if some conditions are met, blah, 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 basta whatever those conditions are. Okay, so it's like the squares are nodes or vertices. Tapos kung valid yung transition, there's a directed edge. So from this point on, I'm going to stop thinking about digraphs. I'm going to stop thinking about grid graphs, and I'm only going to think about directed graphs. Okay, so the question is now, given a directed graph, is it possible to visit all of the vertices only by following the given edges? And again, this is something like a telegraphed signal. There are certain keywords that should be firing off neurons in your head. When you see connectivity in the context of a directed graph, it would be fruitful for you to look in the direction of strongly connected components. So I want to explain now what strongly connected components are because we're running low on time. Basta standard siya, you can Google it and you can find something. So draw a directed edge between squares if it's possible, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the solution. Use tangents or quasiradius to find the strongly connected components of this graph. Like, basta I'm working with a graph, I don't care about the original grid graph anymore. Basta some graph, I want to solve the question. Use some standard algorithm to find the strongly connected components. And then we'll condense the graph into its strongly connected components, turning it into a DAG. And this is really useful. Like, condensing the graph to its SCCs is useful because when you have a DAG, it's easier to work with. So do some standard DP to get the max length path in the DAG and check that this is equal to the number of strongly connected components. So like, we'll follow the strongly connected components. We start in the first one, visit everyone there, and then next one, visit everyone there, next one, visit everyone there. I just want to make sure that there exists a path of strongly connected components that allows me to visit all of them in some order. Time complexity of RC per test case. Kasi linear time lang yung tangents or quasiradius. I was like, oh, it's technically a directed graph. Let's throw SCC and see what happens. Honestly, unironically, that's legit. That's how I solved it then. It's like, well, SCCs, directed graphs, maybe it'll work. And it did work. Anyway, so can you guys type 1 if you're like, okay with that? Okay, nice. Enough ones for me. Let's move on. Okay, problem K, War of Human Conquest. Let's again apply a standard problem-solving technique. Simplify the problem. What if there were only one factory? So there's actually a bunch of different ways that we could attack this kung iisa lang yung factory. Idea number 1, use line sweep. Simulate people. Okay, wait. Pause. I should be clear. What we want to do is find the point in time where there are the most people currently in the factory at that time. That's what we want to do. And currently, we're only considering one factory. So, okay, idea number 1, let's use line sweep. If we use line sweep, just simulate people entering and exiting their shifts. Tapos at each point in time, keep track of the number of people currently in the factory at each point in time. Tapos get the max of that. Idea number 2, maybe if you're a bit more advanced, makikita mo to, use a segment tree with range max query and range add updates to track the number of people in the warehouse at each point in time. Right, basically imagine initialize siya lahat to 0000 because no one's in the warehouse. If someone's shift is from L to R, mag +1 ka on that range from L to R because there's one more person in that time span. And then, take the max possible point. Can you guys type 2 in the chat if these two ideas make sense for the simpler version of the problem? Okay, so simple lang. What if there are 2 factories? Combine both ideas together. So I'm going to do it like this. Line sweep for the left factory, and then segment 3 for the right factory. I'm going to prime the right factory, the segment 3. I'm going to do the range updates na so that it's already correct na I already know how many people are in the factory at each point in time. Now, left factory, let's do a line sweep. Simulate the people entering and exiting their shifts, keeping track of the number of people in the factory at each point in time. So ayos na yung line sweep on the left. Now, when person I enters the first factory, apply -1 to his range in the second factory. Because if we throw the bomb now and he dies, then we can't kill him again. So we need to remove him from consideration in the second factory. And we can do that quickly kasi segment 3 siya. Now I can do a range -1. And then when they exit the first factory, okay, they're killable again in the second factory, apply +1. So for the left factory, for the first factory, I can do line sweep to keep track of the max at each point in time. And for the right factory, I can do this kind of segment tree thing. And then I just need to combine both of them together to get the answer. So do I have any other things here? Implementation considerations. You need to do coordinate compression. And then medyo annoying na my queries that spill over past midnight. But there's actually a nice trick that you can do. Consider 2 days together. The second day is just a copy of the first day. But if you have 2 days, then you can kind of have that midnight interval unbroken, bridging between the two of them. And because it's just line sweep plus segment tree, time complexity is n log n. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if you're okay with that solution? Okay, let's see at least kung digesting. Let's say 1 kung digesting at the very least. I'll share the slides. You just need to have like a high level idea. 1 sheesh. Yeah, just think of it like this. I don't need you to think about the details right now. Pag-aralan ninyo yung details on your own, in your own time. But do you have the idea of combining line sweep plus segment tree? As long as you have that idea of it's line sweep plus segment tree, then okay, you can work out the details later. Okay, next, teleporter simulation. Someone got this. Makes me so happy. Okay, I'm gonna breeze through it because we only have 10 minutes for the rest of the slides. Okay, ano yung main insight ng teleporter simulation? If you've seen this scheme before, itong ladder thing, whatever, the main teleporter simulations that you have straight lines, and then when you put horizontal lines, it causes things to swap over. Maybe you've seen it from Big Brain Academy. Maybe you've seen it because it's like, my Korean friend tells me that it's a common way to like draw lots or something. Then you draw a bunch of random lines. But if you think about it, what this creates is a permutation. You have all the teleporters on top. They go down and they fall and they reorganize. But then they'll just be permuted in some way when they hit the bottom. But here's the thing. This is a nice thing that mathematicians figured out. Permutations are objects in and of themselves. A permutation is just a function. But functions are objects that we can manipulate, right? Merong function composition. We can compose them together. We can chain them together. So among other things, you could even do things like make a segment tree of permutations. Well, that looks kind of scary, but remember that each bridge is just a swap. Each bridge corresponds to swapping 2 guys in some place together. And the swap is a permutation. So pwede kang mag-segment tree with the bridges and whatever. And then, okay, wait, I'm running low on time. Basta meron kang segment tree of permutations. You can do some offline processing so that you know in advance the indices of the bridges. And then, okay, basta I'm gonna leave it to you as an exercise to think of on your own. But no, okay, because let's be real. We have 9 minutes left. You're not going to absorb anything in the next 9 minutes if I try to discuss this. So let's just stick to high-level ideas. For K, it was combine the 2 guys to make one big solution. For I, it's going to be swaps are permutations. This ladder thing is a permutation. Permutations are objects. Pwede kang gumawa ng segment tree of permutations. Tapos may offline processing involved, blah, blah, blah. My segment tree. There. If you guys at least understood that, can you type 1 in the chat? 1 if you can take away the insight that permutations are objects. Group theory is fun. I really love group theory. You guys should take a class in it if allowed by your university. Super saya ng abstract algebra. Okay, let's do Sushimon. This is my first problem na. And people tried doing a bunch of greedy solutions to it. It's not. This is a very evil problem. It's insidious. It looks simple and like maybe greedy or something like that. Pero hindi, may arcane technique na kailangan. So first, let's set up the DP. So, gawa ko ng prefix sums, whatever, for R and B. Capital na lang. And then, what do we have here? So, for DPI, okay, if I want to get a total research level of I, then it's just this recurrence, right? Kasi, okay, I need to capture J blues and then I minus J na reds. And then with this DP, the complexity is O of n squared. Can you guys type 2 in the chat if you understand this DP? Time for the grand reveal. Have you heard of divide and conquer optimization for DP? Have you guys heard of this before? Shell and Gondolas, Guardians of the Lunatics. So there's this well-known trick. I won't explain it in full detail. Just know that the trick exists. You can Google. Yeah, it's alien trick. It's alien trick. For the people who went through NOI. I learned this trick through Kevin. Anyway. So, di ba may DP na ganito? Na DP of I, tapos I need to find the optimal J. Ano yung optimal J that would make this expression minimum? I'll call that A of I. As in, yan yung argument that will make the min optimal. Maybe you've also heard of argmin. Yes, it's also used in ACM ICPC World Finals 2017. I remember that problem. Anyway, so the idea is that may special property yung DP na to, na yung optimal J nag-minimize ng expression na to. Actually, it's non-decreasing. As I increases, mapapakita mo that the J is also non-decreasing. And because of that, may wacky na magagawa ka na divide and conquer optimization. The key fact is the thing that R is non-decreasing. So basically, convex yung capital R mo. And because of that, you can apply this technique. Something quadrangle inequality. No time to explain this beautiful technique in a way you'll appreciate. So just here's some problems you can Google if you want to read. I swear I saw a paper that described this technique in a clean way. Hindi ko siya mahanap, but I'll follow up in the chat of Discord if I find it. Just know that because of this non-decreasing J property, my super magic DP na magagawa ka na divide and conquer, it becomes n log n only. Magic. So, can you guys type 2 in the chat if you will now remember that divide and conquer optimization exists? Yeah. It's so evil, right? It's such a simple, clean problem na may evil technique pala lurking under the surface. Okay, here's another one of my problems I really like. Interactive. Alien chess. So here's a common pattern in combinatorial game theory. If you've done 2-pile nim, then you might have seen this before. Suppose that whatever move my opponent makes, I always have a response move. Then I win, because my opponent will always be the one to run out of moves first. I think maybe you might have seen this in the one you have a circular table, and then you're gonna take turns placing coins on the table, and the first one who can't make a move loses. The way you win in that game is you put a coin in the center. Tapos wherever your opponent places a coin, you place yours in the opposite reflected location. Anyway, I delved into a specific example. Pero basta there's this idea na whenever my opponent does something, meron akong response. And because I always have a valid response, siya yung unang mauubos ng valid moves. Here's the main insight. Find the maximum matching of squares. This is the max flow problem. Bakit? If a perfect matching exists, let your opponent choose the starting position of the knight. Right? Imagine mo, may perfect matching. Your opponent places the knight somewhere, and then I'm going to move it to its paired partner. When my opponent moves it to a new square, I have a response. Just move it to its matched square. My opponent makes another move it to its matched square. It's not interactive max flow. You only have to do it once at the start, okay? Tapos, okay, ano yung isa pa? That's if a perfect matching exists. If no perfect matching exists, then take any maximum matching. This time, you select the starting position of the knight, and you place it on any of the unmatched squares. Because it's unmatched, when your opponent makes a move, it will always move to a matched square. Right? You can't have 2 unmatched squares next to each other kasi hindi magiging maximum yung matching mo. And then from here, do the same strategy. Wherever the opponent moves the knight, you respond by moving it to its matched square. And the opponent's moves will always move the knight to a matched square. Because if not, then you'd have an augmenting path and the matching wouldn't have been maximal. So finding a maximum matching is easy because the knight graph is bipartite. And the two coloring is the same as the normal coloring of the chessboard. Kasi a knight makes an odd number of moves each time. Pag white yung square, after a knight move, it goes to a black square. So using the same coloring of the grid na chessboard, bipartite yung graph, find the maximum matching, and then do that strategy. Time complexity is s square root of s using Hopcroft-Karp, where s equals 64 in this case. But because this s is small, kahit anong max flow algorithm, even Ford Fulkerson will pass, even if it's not dedicated for bipartite matching. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if this is clear? Ang ganda, diba? It's so magical. Okay, I think I have 1 minute left, so let's go. Let's do F. So represent each group chat with a bit mask, where the ith bit is 1 if 1 if it's there, 0 if they're not. Tapos we'll let f of mask be the count of the number of GCs that have this type of bit mask. Okay. Now let's do exact first. Diba the queries were my must not, and my don't care. Let's solve an easier version of the problem first. Let's say must and must not includes everyone. It's like itong exact mask. How many sequences produce this exact mask as the final number of people being invited? If you can do this for all values of mask, then you can use DP to account for the don't care people. So all we need to do is find exact mask for all. Okay, ganito. If k equals 2, then we want to compute this. Exact of mask is equal to, so I need to choose a guy that has mask I times choose a guy that has mask J. And I want that over all combinations where I or J, bitwise or, is equal to mask. For general K, it's going to look like this. It's just an extension where multiple guys or the guys that bitwise or into mask is also like over multiple guys. That looks a lot like polynomial multiplication, doesn't it? This looks like polynomial multiplication except or yung nandito imbes na I plus j equals mask. FWHT? No, almost. You have to do a custom one. Fast Walsh Hadamard does XOR convolution na mabilis. What you need is an OR convolution. If you understand how Fast Walsh Hadamard works, mamamodify mo yung magic matrix para OR convolution siya imbes na XOR convolution. And then now that you've reduced it to Fast Walsh Hadamard na may magic matrix, then you can do this n times 2 to the n log k times. Because now that it's magic matrix, I can do binary exponentiation. And then once I have exact mask for everyone, I just do this DP. Doon nanggaling yung 3 to the n. And then O of 1 per query. So yung takeaway for this one is you can do OR convolutions. Hindi lang siya XOR convolution. Wow! Okay, so that should be the takeaway for this one. That polynomial multiplication is a convolution. Actually, meron ding XOR convolution. Actually, meron ding OR convolution na pwede mo siyang i-binary exponentiation. Anyway, that is the solution sketches. Can you guys type 1 in the chat if you are satisfied for any definition of satisfied that you choose? Don't worry, I'll post these slides in the GC and I'll post some other resources that I can find into the Discord then, so we can learn these standard techniques together. Sobrang saya, diba? Black magic! Anyway, okay, I'm over time by a bit by 2 minutes. I will cede the floor again back to the hosts.
Oh my god.
Carrie.
I love how like the feedback went from type 1 in the chat if you get it to type 1 in the chat if you're there. Like,
If you have any, if you were able to take away anything, well, I hope you guys were. I definitely have a lot to learn myself, so it's exciting, to discover these new things and to learn
That
about
was
all these
amazing.
different types of problem solving methods. So thank you so much, Sir Cisco, for sharing those solutions with us, and also thank you to all of our judges. Without all of you, Algolympics 2022 would not have been possible. So thank you for lending us your expertise to help cultivate the skills of all of our participants.
To show our gratitude to the judges, we would like to acknowledge you with these certificates of appreciation. So, Certificate of Appreciation. The Association for Computing Machinery UP Diliman Student Chapter Inc. awards the Certificate of Appreciation to the judges Peyton Yao, Gerard Francis Ortega, and Rene Josiah Quinto for lending their enterprise as a judge in Algolympics 2022 Worlds Unknown held on March 26, 2022. This is signed by Luis Agana, Chairperson, Barbara David, Project Manager for Program and Technicals, and J. Ryan Mapanao, Project Manager for Communications.
We would also like to congratulate all the teams here today for making it through to this point, and it definitely wasn't an easy task. So congratulations, talaga, guys.
The past hour has proven this was by no means an easy task. All the lore, the magic, loved it.
The black magic, as Sir Cisco mentioned. Yes.
We would like to award each team member certificates of participation.
So let me read it this time. So the certificate of participation reads, the Association of Computing Machinery UP Diliman Student Chapter Incorporated awards this certificate of participation to the participants for their participation in the Algolympics 2022 Worlds Unknown held on March 26, 2022. This is also signed by Luis Gabriel Agana, our chairperson, Barbara David, Project Manager for Program and Technicals, and J. Ryan Mapanao, Project Manager for Communications. So
we will be sending these certificates to each team member via email. Congratulations to all of you once again.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now,
so do you know what time it is? Do you guys know what time it is?
It's the moment everyone's been waiting for. We will be announcing this year's top 3 teams, the podium placers. These teams solve the most problems in the least amount of time. If your team name is called, we encourage you to turn on your camera so that we can see your winning faces.
All right, so I know you guys are on the edge of your seat, so let's amp up the drama. So here we go. For our second runner-up, who will be winning a total of 6,000 pesos, we have Kuhaku from De La Salle University, Manila. Congratulations. Good job. Good job.
Let's go.
So is Kuhaku there? Are you guys here?
Yes.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes.
Woohoo.
Congrats.
Look at that. Good job. Congratulations.
All right.
All right.
Next up.
One down. 2 more to go. Who is it gonna be, kaya? Who is it gonna be?
Our first runner-up, who will be winning 9,000 pesos, we have Kay from Ateneo de Manila University. Congratulations.
One of my favorite team names. Kay. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You guys there? Kay, Team K.
There. Hi.
Ayun. Yes, let's go. Congrats. Good job, guys. Okay. So we finished our second runner-up, our first runner-up. That leaves only one last podium spot. So, shall we do the champion? And finally, the team who will be taking home a grand prize of 12,000 pesos. We have...
From the University of the Philippines, Diliman.
The champion of Algolympics 2022 is... Java Nice Day. Congratulations. You guys did a great job and it was well deserved. So congrats.
They Jav a nice day.
Java Nice
Good job.
Day.
Good job. Thanks, Sander. Good job.
I'm sure this will help you guys Java Nice Day even more. I hope you guys are jabbing a nice day. Lahat na. Just get it all out of your system. So congrats, Java Rice now. Wow.
Wow. GG,
yes.
well played. Yes.
Yes.
For everyone else, don't worry. Your efforts have not gone to waste. Hopefully, you've all gained more competitive programming experience.
That's right, Jerry. And who knows, maybe you'll be next year's Algolympics champion. We shall see.
Maybe we'll even be face-to-face. Who knows? Maybe there's a winner
maybe.
in the crowd right now.
Ooh, exciting.
But that's next year's Algolympics. For now, to cap off on this Algolympics, our event, may we call on UP ACM's chairperson, Luis Agana, for our closing remarks.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So, yeah, hello. First of all, I would like to congratulate everyone who has participated in this year's Algolympics. It's our second time doing it remotely given our situation, but I'm really glad we were still able to conduct this event with you all. I would like to thank our speakers for taking the time to share their knowledge and talk about competitive programming and the importance of algorithms. I would also like to thank our sponsors for supporting us along the way. Algolympics wouldn't be here without them. I would also like to thank our judges for coming up with these very interesting and challenging problems. And of course, to our participants for doing their very best thinking about different solutions to tackle these problems. And of course, I would like to thank so much our steering committee and to everyone involved for the time and effort into making this event happen. I know it's been a long day with us all, but thank you all for being a part of it. It means a lot for UPACM. I hope that we learn a lot from the talks and the experiences from the competition itself. Stay safe and well, and we hope to see you again in our future events.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Luis Agana, for the closing remarks. And I can't believe that we're almost at the end of our program. Can you believe that, Jerry?
I cannot.
We're
It's been
almost
a
done.
long
I'm
day.
sure everyone wants to get some rest, and it's much deserved at this point. So,
After using your brains for what, like 6 straight
pretty
hours?
much the whole day.
Pretty much the whole day, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
I'd
should get
say
some rest.
Definitely.
It's been a long day and we're finally towards the end of Algolympics 2022. But before that, let's give one last shout out to all the people who made it possible. This event is in partnership with the Department of Computer Science, UP Diliman, and is co-presented by Freelancer.com, in cooperation with Expedoc Software Incorporated, White Widget, and Avaloq.
This competition is also brought to you by Navitaire Philippines Incorporated and Course Hero, with special thanks to Tech Factors Incorporated, and sponsored by Orange and Bronze Software Labs Incorporated and Samsung Electronics Philippines Corporation. We also have Inquirer.net and Inquirer Pop as our media sponsors.
Yes. So, one last announcement before we end. We'd like to announce that your certificates will only be given once you have answered our feedback form for the event. So, please make sure to do that. We'll be sending more information about that via email, and actually, that just dropped a link in the chat. And we'll also contact the winners for their prizes through email.
Yes, and now this is at the point we're at the point in our program where we'd like to take a quick photo op with all of our participants before we say goodbye for the day and for the year until we see you again next year, right? So if you guys can turn on your cameras and so we can all take a quick group photo. So
let's see
everyone's beautiful faces.
Oh, look at all of us.
Yon. There we go. So let's wait a couple more seconds for everyone to turn on their cams.
Yeah, let's give everyone a chance to turn on, set up, freshen up.
Freshen up. All right.
Someone's in the car.
Oh, someone's in the car?
I mean, someone has. Is that a background or?
Oh, damn. All right. So, Lodge, take it away.
I'll be taking the photo na lang.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I'll be taking the photo of the first page muna. So please hold on to your smiles. So 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, so now onto the next page. 3, 2, 1, smile. And now for the last page. Oh, wait a minute. All right. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay na. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Deb, for taking the picture. And on behalf of the Algolympics 2022 Steering Committee and UP ACM, we hope everyone has had a great learning experience today.
And for the last time for the night, I'm Paolo.
And I'm Jerry.
And we hope to see you all again at next year's Algolympics. Thank you all. Stay safe and have a great night. So, bye guys. Thank you for
Bye.
coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, everyone. Good job.
Don't forget to answer the form.
Feedback form. Don't forget the feedback form. Get some rest, y'all. Get some rest.